All right, so it's just maybe a minute after 6 on Thursday, what is today, the 16th of July. I'm trying to call the regular meeting to order. First item of business is set adjust agenda. Does anybody have changes or adjustments? We've got, hearing none, we're gonna roll with the agenda that we have. We've got a long agenda tonight, so I'm gonna try to keep us moving through it. Just, because I'm selfish and don't wanna be here all the time, all night. I did have a snack, so it'll tide me over. All right, so next is to approve minutes from the last regular meeting, which was June 18th. Let's do that first. We also had a special meeting, so do we have a motion to approve minutes from the June 18th meeting?
So moved. Second.
And does anybody have any changes or anything for those minutes? No. Good, so all in favor of approving the minutes as written for June 18th, please say aye. Aye. I think that was everybody. Motion carries. Next is the minutes. We need to approve minutes from the special meeting, which was June 24th. Do we have a motion for that effect?
So moved. Second.
Okay, any changes on those minutes to the special meeting, which was the 24th? All in favor of approving the minutes from the special meeting on June 24th as written, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed? Motion carries. Next is communication from the audience. We actually have an audience tonight, which is beautiful. Does anybody have anything to communicate that's not an agenda item that we're gonna be discussing later? All right, we're gonna roll ahead. Next is town manager's report. Sean Fielder.
Thank you, Eric. If you haven't, for our visitors, if you haven't signed in, just please make sure you do sign in on your way out. If you haven't done it yet, that would be appreciated. So the report for July 16th, continuing to conduct operations per the Vermont Agency of Commerce and Community Development guidance, given the state of emergency. Updating staff, ongoing, keeping communications with departments, and does involve some updating on signage and just making sure we're all keeping up for operations ongoing. Communications with Greensboro officials, coming off a Greensboro Select Board meeting some time back, and obviously we're talking a little bit about the topic in our last couple of meetings. Greensboro Select Board and some citizens had just said, it's time we talk with we want to just talk with the police department about some of their procedures and policies and processes. So that is in the works and doing a community forum format. So that is something that Chief Cochran and the police department are working on this. So we've been having various communications on this, and nothing set as of yet, but being worked on. Some project information. We have released bids for the Creamery project. This is one of the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail sections here in town. It's basically the section that's near our highway garage area, and it would be from, it's basically North Main to Slap Hill. The bids are due July 21st. Have been fielding questions. We had a pre-bid meeting last week, and the encouraging thing there is 9 construction firms did show up, so there's some interest in construction projects, so that's good. We're working on and trying to just sort through our bid information for, this is another LVRT project. For it's the LVRT section that goes from Slap Hill heading toward Pumpkin Lane. We're trying to figure out at this phase if we have enough time to get all the information in order to go to bid. And there's some complicating factors of just some budget issues because of match spending. So we're working through some of this. One other positive on LVRT is that the bridges number 39 and 40, which is in the section I've mentioned from Slap Hill out to Pumpkin Lane. Bridge 40 is completed and Bridge 39 is being worked on now. The positive thing about this is those are going to be done sometime in this next 4 to 6 week period. So those are pretty significant improvements on the LVRT. We are advancing on the sludge cleanout project. The contractors are here. We've continued our drawdown process on the lagoons for the wastewater treatment facility. We have actually pulled one tractor trailer load, and things are progressing very well there. And that's right on target. The weather has been cooperating, being that it's dry, so that's worked out well for us on this project. Just a related infrastructure project for the Bridgman Reservoir. There's some punch list items still to be completed. We're collaborating with our engineers as well as our contractors to get this completed. So we should have our punch list in order within this next 4 to 6 weeks, and everything's in good shape there. I've been coordinating with Sherry on, we're looking at some improvements to the townhouse, going after a grant to do access improvements for the townhouse. Appreciate Sherry's work on this and helping. Just have been coordinating with architect, get some basic cost information in order, and things are progressing there. So next steps will be a grant application late July, and we see what happens on that, and see what our opportunities might be to do the improvements moving forward. We did release our paving bids for this summer cycle. Those will be talked about later this evening. We did get 3 bids, and again, we'll talk about that as an agenda item further on. Okay, over the next couple of weeks, Town Manager's Office anticipates releasing a request for proposal for re-roofing of the Public Safety Building. We do have the capital set aside for this. It's something that has been thought about previously. We're at a point where we're missing shingles and we have some leaks in the roof, so it's something that it behooves us to have this addressed this year. So we're going to be getting some details in order to make a move there. I'll close with this. Continuing to monitor various signs coming off the last couple of meetings of discussions and that are placed on town property. I've had just a couple instances where I've had to remove a handful of signs, and deteriorated, falling down was generally the category for some of those. So it would be across the street at Memorial as well as in the Peace Park, and that's what I'll provide for this evening. So I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Just on the topic of roofing.
Yep.
I noticed a few of the slates on this building are loose.
Yep.
Is there a slate person around, or is that on the, I mean, if we're doing, I'm sure it's not the same person who would do asphalt shingles on the public safety building, but maybe.
It's, I've been searching. I haven't recently dug into this. When I was looking into it late last fall and prior to the pandemic situation, what we were finding out is it is pretty hard to find a slate specialist. That doesn't mean it can't be found. Right. But it's been on the back burner, to be quite honest with you. We know it has to be addressed coming into the fall, so I'll get it on my action item list, and we'll be checking into it.
There must be folks in Burlington, there are a lot of slate roofs.
Well, Rutland as well, because there's a lot of slate in Rutland, so sometimes you end up drawing a contractor from that part of the state where this is a more frequent type of, or more common type of roof, if you will. Yep. So I'll put on my action item list, Eric.
I don't know, maybe. Yeah.
I have a quick question as well, Sean, and I know that Mike Sullivan isn't presenting tonight, but I was just curious, maybe a question for him for our next meeting would be when the Hardwick Electric Department offices might open.
Just point of clarification, Mike will report at the next meeting. Okay. There was an adjustment. And he would need to address that, Kaylee.
Okay.
Yeah, good question when they're planning to reopen.
Sorry, I haven't obviously been to many of these.
Can you state your name, even though we
Oh, sorry, my name's Deborah Hart. Can I ask a question pertaining to anything that Mr. Fielder just talked about, or is that not appropriate, or do I wait till the end, or?
Yeah, so the way this works generally is that this is a meeting of the select board that's open to the public.
Okay.
But we're generally open, we don't usually actually have people in the audience, but if you just raise your hand, I will call on you.
I just thought of something, well, if I don't have to say anything, I can talk to him in person later. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Yep.
I also just wanted to mention one more thing. At our last meeting, we talked about how the community meeting with Greensboro might be an opportunity for our select board to partner or coordinate with the Greensboro select board. I'm sure you're talking about that.
Yeah.
But that was a really exciting idea from our last meeting.
Yeah. So just real quickly on that, coming off the meeting, I did connect with Peter, Select Board Chair in Greensboro, and just got clarification from him who we should be reaching out to. And it was at that time Bobby Nesbitt, who had come forward as a community member out of Greensboro, had brought the subject up. So the chief and I were collaborating on that, and the chief Cochran was charged with reaching out. We had a couple of vacations that kind of overlapped there, so the communications are continuing. And actually, as it turns out, I was trying to get verification today. It sounded like there's a new select board member for Greensboro that may take the lead on helping to coordinate. So while there's been a little bit of a delay on the implementation, it's still in the works is how I would say it.
Great.
Any other questions for Sean? Thank you. Next up is road foreman report. Tom Fadden, what have you guys been doing?
Let's see. We finished up our work on Cape Brook Road, so that was completed. We did 6 loads of hydro seeding up there, which probably all got washed away with the heavy rain we had. Roads are actually still holding up pretty good, nothing really washing out or anything. Went around, I think it was yesterday, and touched up Bunker and up through Nichols and Dutton Road and Dusty Swamp Road. Just trying to break stuff up a little bit. I had the guys hauling some winter sand in today. Then we started ditching up on Wapanaki. That road's completed, and we're starting to head down over Tucker Brook Road right now. So the guys have been hauling ditch stone either back to the shop or up on Tucker Brook Road when it's been raining and stuff. We've been up in the pit. We rented a dozer for a month. We got the area stripped that we got prepared there for gravel crushing here. That should be coming in, he said, probably by the end of the month. The crushers should be here. I know, what was it, roadside mowing was supposed to start this week, but we haven't seen them yet, so it should hopefully be starting here within next week or the week after, hopefully. But besides that, that's about it. Trucks are going to the doctors to get fixed, and away we go.
Tom, they did start in East Hardwick, at least on my
Did they?
street. Yeah.
Okay, all right,
I thought I saw some.
all right, okay.
Yeah. So they were supposed to be here and they were. I just didn't tell you.
Yeah, I haven't heard nothing from
Well, I
Ashley or
kinda
anything, so.
So are they the ones that will hit the trees that are kind of growing into the swing?
No, we're gonna
hedge?
have to run a chipper for that. All they're doing is just roadside mowing, Sherry.
Okay, well, they're getting pretty big.
Yeah, 'cause we gotta go down around Daniels Road there, down through there. That's getting pretty well grown into, so.
Thank you, Tom. Any more questions for Tom? All right, next up, I'm gonna pass over the police department report. Aaron's out on a personal issue, and when Sean mentioned that to me, I said, wow, our agenda is so full, I bet we could do without it tonight. So that brings us to item number 1, which is Class 1 liquor license for the Scale House, brought to us by Alberta Miller.
So it's actually a first and third
Oh,
class license
All
for them,
right.
please.
And,
Alberta, can you explain what those mean again?
yeah, I was just gonna ask.
So first class licenses are in regards to whether, the difference between first and second is first you serve on the premises. Second is like a store where they sell it and it leaves the premises. Third class, I believe has to do with the fact that they sell hard liquor.
Oh,
So it's like next, right? Okay.
Yes.
okay. So, and I'm assuming we haven't had any complaints?
No issues, no complaints, nothing from
Okay.
DLC for them, so. we're
Okay.
good.
Great.
I move that we approve the first and third class liquor license for the Scale House.
Any discussion? All in favor of approving the liquor license for Scale House, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Alberta. That's coming around. All right. Next is item 2, select board to discuss mailing bond votes with absentee ballots. Do we mean,
Bond ballots.
Okay.
Absentee ballots, yes.
yep,
So, again, if this was a normal year, we would be all set.
yes,
But because of COVID, there was something specific written into the legislature's addendums that said that in order for local items to just automatically be sent with primary requests, the select board had to vote that that was how they wanted it to be done. And in a normal year, people, when they call in to request their absentee ballot, we would ask if they want the local ballots also. They would
Right.
say yes or no, and we would check that off. But this year, we're getting everything through the little cards that the state actually sent, which has no marking on it for being able to ask for any local elections at all.
right, you just check whether it's the
Primary or
or
general
the
or
general.
both, right.
Yep.
So we felt that everyone should be mailed the bond ballots also, because that would be something, if they were coming in here to vote, they would be offered, or if they were calling for their absentee, they would be offered. So we feel that it's most responsible to send everything. So I just need a motion and a vote from you guys that says, yes, that is how you would like to see it handled also. And then we'll go ahead and mail everybody the bond ballots with their request for primaries. If they
So
don't
the-
choose to vote on them, they don't have to, but at least they've been given that option.
So it goes out, it's gonna go out with the primaries, which is August?
August 11th,
Okay.
yes.
I move that Alberta send all the local election ballots with the state and the primary and general election.
Wow, there we go.
Cover it all. Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Doug, did you want to say something?
What about the ones that have already been mailed? Because I've already got my primary ballot.
You're going to get the absentee for the bonds also. Going forward, we'll be able to mail everything in one envelope, but we already had some that had gone out, and then it was like, well, wait a minute, now how do we handle this? So everybody who's already got their primary will get the bonds separately. Everybody else that comes in after is going to be getting everything in one envelope.
And is it one other different thing this year is that you can bring your ballot to the polling place on the day of, or is it always that way?
It is always that way.
Okay.
Sure. Yes, it is
Okay.
always that way. Just
You
most
don't have
people
to
choose
return
not
it.
to because they requested it
Right,
out
right.
in the mail to them. So,
Right.
yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, got that taken care of. All right, next is item 3, select board to review candidates for Hardwick Electric Department commissioners. And I'll just preface this by saying the select board is charged with appointing commissioners to Hardwick Electric Board of Commissioners. And we are a bit tardy in doing that. So we actually have right now 4 open seats, where we should have had just 2 this year that should have been for July 1, but we now need to fill 4. And we've had, I believe, 7
That's correct.
letters of interest, which is fantastic, by the way. And I just want to have a quick discussion amongst the board, because I think we need to think about they're not all the same length. There's going to need to be expirations staggered so that we don't have all 4 coming up, right? So, yeah, and so Sean's just passed me the,
That's a little bit challenging to try to describe, I'll give you this.
yeah. So actually, maybe I'll just leave it at that for now, that they're going to be staggered and they're not all going to be, there's one 3-year term with 2 years remaining, a 2-year term with 1 year remaining, a 2-year term with all 2 years, and a 3-year term with all 3 years. So those are the terms that will get us back and rolling, and then going forward, I think we probably won't forget again. So with that, I would like to go through.
We're a little bit ahead of schedule, so some had indicated to me they might be here. I don't know if some are here yet or not.
Some people are here.
Yep.
So,
I
yeah,
have
we
them.
are running ahead because we have a long list and we're trying to charge through.
What I've done is highlighted the name and where they're from, if you want to read them back.
Yeah, so what I'd like to do is for those who are here that we've had a letter of interest from, maybe just for you to introduce yourselves and if you'd like to say anything beyond what you've written. I think nearly everybody wrote something pretty comprehensive, but you could at least put a name with most of a face. So I don't think Dave Mitchell is here.
They're dog-eared.
They're dog-eared. Gina is not here. Both Dave and Gina are current, have been serving. Lynn Dankin's not here. She's also been serving. Michael Ambrosino.
Here.
Did I pronounce that correctly?
You did.
All right. You want to just,
I'm new to Hardwick, actually.
okay.
I bought a house here 4 years ago. My wife grew up here. I'm actually a New Yorker. I retired here full-time last year. I was an engineer. I had a business in New York City, 40-person engineering firm. We did projects all over the country. Dealt with various utility companies like Con Edison, Phoenix Power. I put my name in because I think it would be interesting to do. I'm a nice guy. It's hard to tell. I'm capable, as my experience has shown all these years of doing engineering. And I bring enthusiasm. I like to resolve problems. That's what I've done for 40 years. So to me, it'd be a very interesting position.
Great.
So there are different lengths, different
There are, as I just
terms
read
that are,
through.
were you
Whatever
particular
works.
about?
Whatever
Okay.
works. It doesn't matter.
Okay, good to know.
All right, good. Yes, that's an important question.
Yeah, so we could just like do that little review. So how many commissioners are there? And they represent all the,
Yeah,
of
sorry.
the towns?
Yeah, so there are 5 commissioners total. And by statute, we can have up to 2 commissioners who don't reside in Hardwick, so long as they are permanent residents of community served by Hardwick.
Right.
And I believe the one out of the 5, the one who still has a term is Nat Smith, who's
correct.
from Greensboro, correct?
Yeah, and then
Okay.
Gina was the
Gina's from Craftsbury.
Craftsbury person.
Dave Mitchell's from Hardwick, Roger lives in Hardwick, and Lynn lives in Hardwick.
Right,
Yep.
just thought we'd go through
So,
that.
so in the grand scheme, we could only appoint up to 1 person
From Hardwick.
from outside Hardwick.
Oh, okay.
One additional person to the person.
Of
we already
the
have
4
on.
we're appointing,
Right.
up to 1 of them, like 0 or 1 could be from outside Hardwick. As long as they reside full-time in a town that's served by Hardwick Electric, or within the service area.
East Hardwick has that.
All right, this is from the East Hardwick secession movement over here. Excellent, so thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.
All right, and thank you everyone who put in a letter of interest. This is great response. Roger Prevost, I think, is not here. He currently is serving, he lives in Hardwick, or East Hardwick. Susan Martin,
She's not
Susan here?
She's not here.
not yet. And,
From Woodbury.
and Vince O'Connell, Vince is here. Hi, Vince. Good.
Yeah, brief introduction, in fact, a little irony, when I left the house, the power was out.
Yeah.
My wife and I invented the outdoor center back in the early 80s. And then we bought a house in Craftsbury around 2000, and now we were part-time residents for a while, and now we're permanent residents in Craftsbury. So you have my the application. It gives a little background. I have entrepreneurial background, manufacturing business development. I have a lot of managerial problem-solving skills and generally play well with others. I'm enthusiastic, detail-oriented, but I have good context, wider context. And I'm able to, as I mentioned, I gave an example of problem solving, for example, the back billing with the Craftsbury Academy, which, that issue aside, it's a great opportunity to examine how to avoid that sort of issue in the future, because just a brief conversation led to a couple other examples of back billing issues, and I hadn't encountered that kind of thing with a utility before. That doesn't mean that I don't think Hardwick Electric does a great job. They do, delivering electricity and at good rates, but it's a great opportunity for an automatic internal audit, subroutine in the monthly billing software that would automatically compare expected usage with actual usage. And it would just sort of eliminate this this is a huge problem for Craftsbury Academy and Hardwick Electric. And it's the kind of thing that, it's an opportunity for an easy problem-solving fix. But in any case, I guess, as the gentleman here mentioned, I have a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of energy, hard worker, quick study, and I think it would be really interesting. So that's it. Any questions or anything?
Yeah, thanks, Mitch.
Okay.
So the way this is going to work is we actually are going to have a deliberative session, executive session at the end of our meeting to go through as the board and discuss. And the town manager's office will get back to everybody after that, which would be tomorrow or next week. I'm not sure which. Tomorrow or next week.
Tomorrow or potentially Monday.
There we go. It'll be tomorrow or next week.
I don't see any issues why it wouldn't be tomorrow, but
But you never know. Issues happen.
I've learned to say within the
As long
next
as the
couple of
power's
business
on.
days.
At least the power's on.
As the power's on and the phone works.
I want to speak up for the department. I do not believe the power issues this evening are having to do with HED.
No, I'm
No, it
just
sounded like
making
it was
a joke.
bigger.
It's bigger.
Yeah. Awesome. But, so did anyone else I see we have at least one person out in the hall, but did anybody? Hi. Sorry, what? I do not.
Is that home?
It is.
That's it.
Thank you, Maya.
That was official business, right?
That was official business. So I know what I'm missing for dinner. All right. Is anybody else out there?
No.
Didn't see. Okay. And that's our.
If you have another kid, is she looking in the corner or something?
Could be.
No. Waiting outside.
All right, so thank you, everyone who has submitted a letter of interest for Hardwick Electric Board of Commissioners. We're honestly excited by having a choice of so many qualified people. I don't know that this has ever happened before.
Can't
so,
say that it has.
Not in my
Not in
memory.
my 11 years.
Yeah.
So it's fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, and feel free to hang out or leave as you wish, because we have more things we're rolling through. All right, next is item 4, select board to review and approve proposed 2021 coin drop schedule, which is short and sweet and has one open slot, right?
How are we going to handle the open slot?
We had a way.
I have a question.
Oh, already?
So obviously this year nobody got to do a coin drop. Is there anybody that had a coin drop this year that, I assume nobody's done them, because it's, I don't know, yeah, who would do it? So I just wonder if anybody got left out from this year that had one, that we could plug into that last spot. That would be kind of a fair thing to do given the pandemic.
So are you asking if maybe the town manager's office later could reach out and go through the list of this year's and see if anybody is not on this list and reach out and say we have one open slot?
I know, we had 2 slots last year, didn't we? 'Cause
It was, there were a couple, I'm trying to think what it was. There was one empty slot and there were two organizations that were vying for it.
One
And
of them
Nick
was the
Arts
town
got
hall.
it
Yeah,
because the other one said, and I don't remember who the other one was, but the other one said, we've done it, you haven't, so you take the slot. Any idea who that other organization was?
I'm gonna make a suggestion that this is the slate we have for 2021, so these are the folks who submitted interest for 2021, and we probably ought to just roll with this slate and deal with the opening.
I think if somebody else comes forward and wants to do it, then we could.
They could,
Sean could just
they
go
can talk to
forward.
the town manager's office, they can bring it to us.
Okay.
We had an organization that came to us late last year,
Yeah.
and one of the organizations actually dropped out, so we kind of reworked it, and they came to you guys after the fact. So if we had an organization that wanted to fill this empty slot, we can always have them come to you guys later
Yeah.
on.
And it's the last slot too, so it gives people time.
It's cold.
So, coin drops, get the requests for 2021 are May, Hardwick Kiwanis, June, HCTV, July, Hardwick Trails, August, Aware, September, Neck Hearts. Do we have a motion to approve this slate?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor of approving the coin drop schedule as written, please say aye.
All right.
Any opposed? Motion carries. This just want my signature? Only one.
Yeah, I believe it's you. You can sign on behalf of the board, I believe, for that
Yeah.
first one.
Okay, so we're on to item 5, which is paving bids.
Go ahead, Eric.
I just wanna, we got paving bids just came in today, right? You opened them, and I don't know, Tom, Sean, anybody had a chance to review them?
Yep, we received 3 bids. Let me just go ahead and report this, Tom.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got 3 bids. They're all apples to apples, if you will, so consistency on what it is we're asking for and for the streets to be covered, if you will. I'm just gonna read back the numbers. Gray's, their number is $201,056.20. J. Hutchins, $169,256.50. Pike's bid, $159,678.75. The town manager and highway department recommendation is we go with Pike, is our suggestion to go with Pike at $159,678.75.
So in the past, it seems to me that it's always been an estimate, but then the true charge is a tonnage charge. Is that not the case with these? Are these flat rate?
Want to comment?
No, they're pretty much tonnage charge. I
Yeah.
mean, I think Pike was what, $61 a ton? I think just a hair over that. But the total amount of tonnage, what were we?
Very consistent, it's 2,400
Yeah,
and change.
something like that, but they were all pretty well consistent, so we're good.
What we did on our streets is we were very clear to say this is the shim coat and this is the overlay coat.
Yeah.
So everybody was very consistent, so the math should be right on. So we are not expecting a change or a cost overrun.
So these numbers are all for the same tonnage?
That is
Yes.
correct statement.
Yep.
Okay, so Pike also, in addition to having the low overall bid, has the lowest rate per ton.
Right,
Correct statement.
because we're about $20,000 less than what we had budgeted for this year.
Which is good in this economy.
Yep, and they can fit us in?
Yeah, I believe so. Obviously, we'd be verifying once we get
Because
the
we're-
authorization to proceed.
Yeah.
so out of curiosity, are all of them Vermont companies? Are any of them closer than others?
Grace and Pike, where's Hutchins from?
Hutchins is out of Coventry,
Yeah, they're all
Okay,
local.
so they're all,
and Gray's is out of Coventry.
Okay.
yeah. Any discussion, or does anyone want to make a motion to accept a bid?
I move we accept Pike's bid.
I'll second it.
All right, so any discussion on the motion? All in favor of accepting the paving bid from Pike, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you to everyone who did the legwork on that. Appreciate it. Just a comment that is interesting how these companies, they shift, right, year to year, when we've probably had all these guys, right?
But yeah, we
Yeah.
had every one of these guys pay.
Yeah. And sometimes it just is, it's just different for whatever reason.
Well, it's based on the oil price.
Yeah, but I mean, company, like, the one with the lowest bid is different
Oh,
year to year.
Yes,
Yeah.
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 Cause you piss off one group that year, then they'll come back,
Oh.
yeah, then they'll go,
You had to say it like that, Tom, huh?
It's why it goes out to bid.
yeah.
Yeah, that's why it goes out to bid. All right, so next item is 6, and the select board to sign and name the board resolution from June 24 special meeting and discuss formation of an equity committee. So this, after the discussion, so in our June 24th special meeting, we did adopt a resolution basically in support of the Black Lives Matter movement, and part of that was to say that we would create an equity committee in brief synopsis, right? But we're missing from that resolution a name for the resolution, right? And we need to sign it because we didn't have a clean copy, so we need a name, and then somebody, a clean copy may magically appear before the end of the meeting for us to sign, or maybe when we do our executive session, we can do it.
Sure.
Whatever.
Eric, I'm wondering if it would also be beneficial, I believe there are quite a few people in the audience to talk about this, if we read the resolution again.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Would you like me to do that?
You have such a wonderful speaking voice. But if you want to take a break, I'm sure somebody else would too.
No, I'm happy to do it if I can put my,
The second to last sheet.
okay, I'm getting there. All right, so here's the resolution. Whereas it is the duty of the Hardwick Select Board to consider the well-being of all people in our town, and whereas the town of Hardwick strives to be a welcoming, inclusive, and safe community where all people, regardless of race, ethnicity, gender identity, or expression of sexual orientation, immigration status, religious, or political affiliation, can feel protected, included, secure, safe, and ensured of equal justice under the law. And whereas we acknowledge both recent and past evidence of violence against black and marginalized people, and whereas many forms of discrimination, including physical violence, are being used to support an unfair system of advantage for white people, and whereas we have seen the intimidation and bullying of marginalized people in our town, and whereas using violence and intimidation are in direct conflict with basic human rights as well as the ideals of democracy, and whereas we endorse Black Lives Matter, therefore be it resolved by the Hardwick Select Board. Resolved that the Select Board of the Town of Hardwick will form an equity committee to make recommendations to the Select Board and assist in the implementation of methods to further educate ourselves, our employees, and our community about white privilege, cultures of dominance, racism, implicit and explicit bias, and the history and experience of people of color and other marginalized groups, and resolved that the Select Board of the Town of Hardwick will solicit, include, and welcome voices of all marginalized people, and resolved that the Select Board of the Town of Hardwick will work toward ending systemic racism through our policies, buying power, and actions, and resolved that the Select Board of the Town of Hardwick will support the well-being of all people living and working here, and then will be stated and signed.
So we don't need to, we've already accepted this, so we don't need to really have a motion or anything. It's just, I guess we could move to, when we decide on the title for it, we could, we're just trying to get the
We could have a motion to accept the title, sure.
Yeah, okay.
Do you want to move a title?
No, I actually don't have a title in mind.
Lucian.
Does somebody else?
Haley?
Sherry has some great ideas.
Just give us
Put
one.
you on the spot?
I don't know. What about?
I don't know is not a good one.
Equity for all resolution.
Equity for all resolution. Works for me.
Yeah.
All right,
I don't know, unless someone else has something, that's what comes
Yeah.
to mind.
sounds good.
How about if we tap Town of Hardwick, equity for all?
Sure, yeah.
You gonna move that, Lucian?
Yeah, I move that.
You make a motion that we,
Make a motion that we
Sign
name
this.
this, Hardwick, equity for all resolution.
lovely.
Does that sound right?
Do we have a second?
Hardwick or town of Hardwick?
Oh, how about Town of Hardwick?
Okay. Did you second?
Okay.
And we have a second from Liz. Any discussion? Yes,
On the third resolve,
yes.
after include, we need a comma.
To include,
I got it. I got it.
okay,
I'll make a
Sean's
change.
on it.
Okay.
All right, good. Any other,
What day? Do we show June 24 or today?
Probably the date we voted on it, right?
yeah, I think we should probably do it the 24th, because that's the day we,
24, 28, I got my dates wrong. 24, sorry.
yeah, that's the day we adopted it without it was nameless, but,
So I'll show 24th of June.
so, motion to, title this resolution, the Town of Hardwick Equity for All Resolution, correct? Any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Yay, we have a title and we can sign it later. And the second part, like, so in the first resolve there, we resolved to form an equity committee. And so we have on our agenda to discuss the formation of the committee. I know Lucian's already been looking into the language and the initial whatever formation of the committee.
Right.
But you,
Well, maybe I'll just describe what I've
sure,
sort of talked
That'd be great.
about and done, and then maybe we could all talk about it since
Okay.
people are here. So basically, the Recreation Committee has a formation document that's on the Hardwick website. And so it seems like it would be good to use something similar to that to form this committee. So I took that and adapted it over. And we have a draft that I just sent out today, so we didn't have time to actually review it. But my hope is, and I don't know if people feel like this is realistic, is to refine that draft and hopefully we can have it ready for the next meeting. And we could maybe refine it further and or vote on it at the next meeting so that we can actually form the committee next meeting as a goal.
yeah,
And I don't know if it would make sense to put out, I mean, we're gonna have to advertise for committee members. Should we do that in conjunction with forming the document, or should we wait till the document's actually done before we then ask?
I feel like we should formally adopt the committee before we search for members, but anyone else?
Yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense anyway, yeah. Because then we'll have the language to use when we're asking for people for the committee.
I did get a chance to look at your draft and it looks pretty good. The only thing I was thinking I would suggest, because it's been very beneficial for the townhouse, for the Northeast Kingdom Arts Council, to have a representative from the select board serve on their board. That we might want to include that as maybe not as a part of the number of people serving, because it would go with the select board terms rather than possibly with the committee terms. But how when we appoint in March at the organizational meeting, then a select board member gets appointed to serve on our board, which just helps having the accountability and reporting and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah, that makes sense to me. The other thing was that the rec committee, the town manager is, I forget what the term is, but like a
Ex officio.
ex officio member. And I don't know, does that make sense in this committee somehow? I thought maybe it doesn't quite make so much sense in this committee, but what do you think about that?
Well, technically I can go to any committee, but it's a matter of how much time do you have, right?
Right.
Right.
Because the
Right.
Select board's preference.
town manager is, I believe, also ex officio member of the.
Any
of
commission,
the-
board, or committee in town I can
Right,
attend as
including
a
Hardwick
non-voting
Electric.
member, but I can be
Right.
there.
Okay,
That's correct, that's the
okay.
charter stipulates.
For all discussions, I think
That's
it
correct,
says.
yep.
Oh, okay, so we don't, so it's sort of redundant almost for us to say that in formation, because you are
Sort of
anyway, but we
redundant.
should probably say it just so people know.
Kind of
Yeah.
depends on the town manager.
Well, I think
I
that,
mean, we've had town managers that didn't choose to participate in anything, and then we've had other town managers that have been involved in a number of different things, so.
Right.
it also
This
creates
kind
a
of
way for, if the select board is concerned about something and looking for more oversight, they can charge the town manager with looking into something, and the town manager then has a mechanism to go like participate in a meeting,
Yeah.
in the
But
discussions.
if there's a select board member that's.
It's
serving,
on it, then,
that-
yeah,
It's
that's
one less
true.
thing.
Yeah, right, it's one less thing that the town manager has to do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so,
Oh, sorry, Shannon.
no, I was just saying, so just to clarify, you'd be an ex officio member, but not necessarily expected to attend unless there's sort of kind of reason to, or you go.
Yeah, not a complaint, but my plate's pretty full right now.
Yeah.
I mean, let me just give you some feedback. Like with the pedestrian traffic safety task force, you know, I was asked to sit in on those meetings, so I have been taking part. Unfortunately, I missed the last one and one this week, but took part in that. Have attended, I guess just one DRB meeting as an actual presenter, but you know, if I need to be at something, then as Eric kind of illustrated here, if there's something that we really need to tune in on and it would need to be representing the town, then, you know, I'm charged with doing that, I guess is how I think about it.
So it's as needed, not every meeting. So, yeah, that sounds good. Good, so just the last thing I want to say was that I would be happy to take comments and redraft this, or if somebody else would like to do that, I'm also happy to hand it off to
I'm
somebody.
happy to have you do it. Kaylee, were you gonna say something though in our conversation?
I have two comments, but they are, I think we should wrap up what Lucian was asking about with the work that he did.
Yeah, okay.
I haven't gotten a chance, Lucian, to provide me edits, but I'm happy to do that.
Okay, so you want to take the next draft?
I can take a look at the next draft.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
And I'll send you edits.
Send me, okay, sounds good.
Yes,
So
so
I'll
we're
do
gonna reply
that.
to you.
So you'll send me edits and I'll write up the next draft. Okay, good.
Either way, we can work together on it.
Okay,
Oh,
sounds
or you
good.
can, okay.
Sounds good. Okay.
So I do have just two questions, and also one clarifying question. So it sounds like what we're doing is we're saying at our next select board meeting, we're going to officially not elect individuals to be on a committee, but we're going to officially
Form a committee.
Form a committee.
Is our goal.
And then our next meeting, so there would be really 2 months for community member, well, 1 month for community members to then say, I would like to be a part of this committee, and there's a process for that. So 2 or 3 select board meetings from our next meeting would be when we would be appointing individuals to that meeting. Is that, I just want to make sure I'm understanding it correctly.
I think that sounds right for timeline.
Our next
And-
meeting's on the 6th
Yep,
of August.
August, yep.
And then 14 days from that, which would be the 1st, I guess. In theory, that's when, hopefully, we would be, maybe, or at least we'd be appointing people to it. So I think after we adopt it, then we can advertise in those 2 weeks. That's my understanding.
Okay. And my question is, a lot of, well, to my knowledge, the committees that we have, like the Recreation Committee, do have a budget with the town. So that's something for us to think about. Are we allotting a budget to the Equity Committee? And if we are, maybe that's something we think about before our next select board meeting. Usually, at least in my experience with the Recreation Committee, that budget's created by the committee and then it's approved by the select board. So maybe that's something that would be taxed for town meeting. And then also the resolution talks about making recommendations to the select board. So are we committing to having, after we form this committee, a consistent time for committee members to come and make those recommendations? Whether that's every other month, I think it would be advisable to have it be in a consistent agenda schedule. We often don't necessarily hear directly from the Recreation Committee, for example. So it's just something to think about once we form the committee.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that should be in the document necessarily, or if that's just like a thing we talk to the committee about instead of.
Or maybe that's something, I know we have packed agendas, so it's just something we want to make sure that we're we're doing what we're saying we're going to do in the resolution. So.
I would just note that we do have some committees that don't have a budget, but,
Okay.
so it's not necessary, you know, if
It
it's
is a
not
little
needed.
sticky because we already did our budget for this year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
the normal process would be, and it's actually in the document where you submit a propose a budget to us in the fall, and then we work that into the overall budget.
Yep.
Right, so it would be for next town meeting, right? For, if there was
That would be
need.
that would be the sort of normal way.
Right.
Yep. But we, yeah,
But in the meantime, we might want to, I mean, in the meantime, we need to think about it. Having some money available.
yep. Great.
So I think there were a few people that came that were coming for this topic, so maybe
Okay.
you wanna open, I don't know.
Does anybody want to contribute to the conversation?
I would
Rose, can you state your name?
I'm Rose Friedman from the Independent Public Police Hardwick. And
With Kaylee.
I would just like to maybe clarify a little bit, give a little background about some discussions that have been happening sort of around this issue. I want to thank Lucian and the Select Board for opening this door that I think very badly needed to be opened in the community. It allows a conversation to happen that I think is really helpful for us to grow and figure out how to support everybody who lives here. One of the things that came out of this conversation about the resolution was the need for like a larger community meeting. And so Sherry, Kaylee, and I have talked a little bit about how that might be held, that space might be held. It's a huge project, and so then, it seemed like maybe putting the committee first, and then the committee could be the one to kind of host that meeting would make a lot of sense, and Lucian thought that order would be good, and I totally agree with that. But then I'm sort of a little stopped in my tracks at this moment by my concern that the resolution was written and passed, and we are now forming a committee without any voices of color in the room or in the process. And it's missing, I think. And though we have experience with forming other committees, and some have budgets and some don't, I feel like this committee doesn't really look like any of the other committees. This is a sort of a new step that the town is taking. This work is unique. And uniquely challenging and complicated. And I think especially given the fact that we live in a predominantly white area, it's extremely delicate and challenging in nature. Because I didn't want to call on the few people of color that I know in this community to feel like they had to come and be a loud voice. And at the same time, I think it's really key that we hear from people's direct experiences. So in reaching out around, I've learned that the Vermont Coalition for Ethnic Studies, I think it's called, that does a lot of work in schools, is an excellent resource for this kind of work, and that we could reach out to them, and they would probably be able to put us in touch with somebody who could help us in just some of these steps, just advise as we form a committee. I don't know if there's somebody from the select board who would like to maybe take on that communication, or if it would help if I connected the select board to them. But in any case, I think just figuring out like an advisor or a way to communicate with people who have a little bit more experience and understand the complexity of this work, so that we form the committee, with that in mind, and we're not coming to that way later and then trying to sort of work backwards. So that's the piece I wanted to put in here. I know it sort of sounds like a lot, but I think it's actually going to help us in all these steps if we have that information from people who have the experience.
Yeah, I can comment on that, Rose. I really appreciate you bringing that perspective here, and for being at our last meeting to also talk about how important it is to have actions behind something like this. And that is something that Lucia and I did have a conversation about when we were talking about, we had a phone call about what does this equity committee mean, how are we going to form it, and it doesn't do what we're saying we're going to do if it's all white people. But to be to be a white person who's in the select board, it's really hard to, I look to the community to really take ownership over this committee and to take ownership over some of the actions in this so that way we can help leverage those voices. So at least for speaking for myself, I think there should be a lot of intention in forming this committee. And it doesn't work if it's just a few people who are already representing the most of us. So there's a lot of work to be done to figure out how to do that in a way that's intentional and graceful and actually equitable. So I look to anybody in the community to help us with that process and to really make sure that this is owned by the community. So thank you.
Emily, can you say your name?
My name is Emily Lanksner. I live in Hardwick. I have a son who's Black, Indigenous, triracial person, and he's terrified to live in this town. He has an anxiety disorder where he's afraid to walk down the road at this point from the level of violence that he's seeing in the national level. So I'm just saying that just because I just feel like it's so important that these action steps come into place very soon, and that this resolution is taken in a really seriously proactive way. Because I think we're in a point, in a moment in history where this is an emergency. It's not just something like we hope that we have more equity a year from now, like we hope we have a swing set for the recreation department. It's not on that level at all. So I just, like when we bring up the issue of the fact that there actually is not someone in this room who would say, or next week likely to say, yes, I'll volunteer to be on that committee, most people of color feel very intimidated by the level of violence right now. And when you're talking about a budget, I feel like that anyone who's coming to advise that process from a place of authenticity about what it means to be a person of color living in the state of Vermont right now should be paid. And that's a big leap for someone to put themselves in that vulnerable place to serve on a committee like that in basically all-white town. So I think that should be really taken into consideration as like a immediate budget item, rather than like, oh, maybe who knows who's gonna volunteer for this. I don't think there's too many people of color are just gonna be like, yeah, I'll come. Because, I just think that that's one of the biggest problems that needs to be addressed. Like for the last several years, we had we have several people who have just been volunteering their services on these issues up at the high school and other incidents throughout the town, and they're just doing that as a volunteer, and they're burnt out and they're moving away. So we want to make this town welcoming for everyone. So I just think that this needs to be taken pretty seriously, like emergency measure, not just this is going to roll out little by little kind of thing. Yeah, I'm just very concerned. My son just returned to Hardwick after living out of state, and I wanted him back here for his safety, and after his quarantine, he still doesn't want to leave quarantine because he's afraid. So, and I know he's not the only one. So that's where I'm speaking from.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing a personal side, and I think that I understand. I think we understand that it is a matter of some urgency and timeliness, but at the same time, it's not something we want to do hastily and wrong.
Right.
So I think we need to walk that line a little bit and try to proceed at a at the best pace we can, doing our, the best job we can.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, you have to have a sensible process with it, but I just saw that conflict right away, the idea of just seeing who volunteers when we absolutely need a person of color who's not just a person of color, but someone who is skilled with this kind of work, who can really advise the town on like how should those steps be arrived at. And I feel like it's a job description. It's not just a committee member piece of luck.
Thank you. Does anyone else like to speak up? Yeah,
I just want to thank you all so much for doing this work. 15 years ago, my husband and I adopted 2 children who are black. They came to us at 9 and 10. They did go to Hazen, and they were harassed almost every single day that they were there. They were, even by teachers and by administration, they were just, the people, the students, they called them the N-word regularly. They flipped them the bird. Parents coming to collect their children after school would say things to my children. So, oh my gosh, like if you think that it's not happening, if you don't know but it is. My kids, my child at 14, he was desperate to get out of here. It was just so antagonizing for him to be here. Every day that he had to leave the house and go to school, he knew that he was going to be harassed and someone was going to say some kind of racial shit to him every single day. So thank you for stepping up. Thank you for doing this work, because it's time. It's really, really, really time.
Thank you.
They're getting hosed off the streets in Kansas right now. That's a whole other story, but thank you, because Hardwick is a good place to be. It's a good place to have children. It's a good place to know your neighbors. East Hardwick is my love, what more fabulous community are we in? So thank you for stepping up, everybody. Thank you for being here and doing this work.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for letting me. How privileged are we all to be doing this, to be here.
Anyone else before we?
The resolution is about not just people of color, but also about LGBTQ also. It seems like it's all inclusive.
It is.
And I don't have a sense of the community, but do the LGBTQ community have a problem similar to what the people of color have in this community? They do.
Well, if I could speak to that also.
Sure.
My daughter, my adopted daughter, is also bisexual. My son is non-committed. He's very open to anything, but he was constantly slammed also. Faggot. The names that people come up with, it's just constant. So not only was he black, but he was effeminate. Oh dear God, really? Anyway, so yes, it's a lot.
I think obviously this has been brought up because of good show on for the black community, but we recognize that it's a bit more broad than that even. At the same time, I think it's something that the committee will have to discuss. Tackling too much, making it too broad all at once will probably not. We have to discuss how broad to make it or what to focus on with time.
Too broad, nothing happens.
Yeah, so I think it will be an issue that we'll have to discuss at some point, but we'd like to make it broad for now and then decisions can be made later.
I just wanted to speak, hi, my name is Audrey Grant, recent Hazen graduate. I can speak for more of the LGBT community side. Majority of my friends are somewhere in that array, and the amount of harassment and abuse they get from their classmates is astonishing. Especially looking at their mental health over this past year has been really amazing, as like it takes a toll on a person to experience that every day. And I don't want to necessarily blame Hazen administration for not doing more. It is incredibly hard to talk to these antagonistic kids about their issues. So my friends ultimately just have to deal with it. I actually had a friend who went to St. Johnsbury Academy his freshman year because he got pushed into lockers so often that it was better for him to leave Hazen, and he still lives here and just goes to St. J, but it was better for him to be there because it was a more accepting community. You didn't stand out as much. So I think I'm very appreciative for the formation of the community, or for the committee. It's just there's a lot of work to do, not necessarily just around racial injustice, because that is more obvious driving down the street. But within the school, there's smaller instances of microaggressions against LGBT people that go unnoticed and therefore persist. And I think that part of this should also be I definitely believe the education part of the committee is very, very important, as that's how you change people's minds. And for the harassment, there also is you need to create a comfort, a protection for those people that have been hurt, and also not forcing them to subject themselves to talking to their somewhat abusers, both for POC and LGBT people. So I just wanted to say, yes, there is harassment. It is horrific on so many levels. And there's a lot to do. So thank you for taking it on.
Thank you, Audrey. All right, so our next steps are formation of a committee. So we're gonna review, Lucian has drafted a starting point for us, and we'll reply. And Kaylee's offered to help. I didn't quite understand. You offered to help with the edits, or you offered to submit edits to Lucian? Or both? Or
I'll take a look at it.
or whatever. Okay. So we're, huh?
We'll talk.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk. It'll get sorted. And our goal is to have something ready for next time to vote on for formation of a committee.
And as far as I'm concerned, if other people want to look at it, you can contact me, or I can, for input. I'm happy to.
We could even post a draft if you wanted. I mean, if you want it to, right?
Yeah, I don't know, where would we post it?
We could post a draft on the website, just so, I mean, it wouldn't be.
Oh, it could be along with the documents for this meeting on the.
Yeah, for the documents for this meeting, and then it wouldn't really be very interactive. People would have to reach out to you, but
Yeah.
your contact information is there, and
That sounds good, yep, it's all there.
it's maybe not perfect, but it's maybe helpful.
Yeah.
If you want there to be a draft, I can put that into the article. If you want to do that. And we get more people looking at it, have a good audience.
Yeah, I'm not sure, it's a 3-page document, 4-page document, and I'm not sure if it really makes sense to put a whole draft out that far.
Yeah. till we
Because
get
that
a-
could start think till Christmas to
Wait
get everything
wait
done.
until we have a,
Just put your
I think
contact
people of interest can
information.
contact me. I think
They
that's
can
the
contact you.
personally, I
Okay.
think that'd be really good.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a public document.
And then it keeps it more one-on-one instead of like a meeting online.
but
You know.
when we get it adopted, we can we take you up on that when we get something adopted, Doug, and you can work it? That'd be good. Thank you.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, I thought I saw a finger.
It's hard with our faces covered.
It is.
I just wanted to say thank you for everybody for coming. This is going to be really hard, tough work. And I'm so impressed that the select board is not only taking it on, but putting it in as a resolution, but we're not gonna be able to do it without your support. And so I just appreciate all of you coming tonight, and the more that we can be connected and working on this, a big part of this is really thinking about how we make every part of our community inclusive, and that is a huge goal, but I think we can do it if we all work on it together. So I just wanted to say thank you for that, and keep coming to select board meetings. It's really great to hear your voices.
Yeah, well said. All right, I'm gonna move us on to item 7, which is to discuss the sign policy for banners and signs on town property. And this is a policy that we discussed, help me, was it the last regular meeting or was it a special meeting? Special meeting. And so the general idea is to try, so our existing policy basically says you don't put signs on town property, more or less, right?
Well, that, and then there was some sort of outdated stuff, and then there was,
They
yeah,
mostly dealt with commercial signs,
yeah.
advertising.
Right,
something like
yeah,
that.
right.
And this is sort of art and expression. We have it described in here.
So this is our attempt to revamp the sign policy on Hardwick town land.
So this is, just to be clear, this is different than zoning, which is kind of talking about town-wide.
Which is more about.
This is about what's happening actually on the town of Hardwick land.
So postage, signage, banners, and public art displays look different in the way that zoning is in charge of like advertising and business signage and the
More permanent installation.
yeah, more permanent installation, yeah.
Right.
How big it can be, how bright it can be, all that stuff.
So we started talking about our sign policy on town land, and then I think you figured out that we had some other policies that could
Then
sort
I
of all
found an
come
old
together to
one
such a-
about public art and that
The three
I
policies
didn't
are
even
coming
know
into one.
existed, that made neck arts like some voice in it that didn't make any sense since we didn't know about it. And
Yeah.
anyway, so we went over this at that special meeting, and we could go over, like, we could look through it again, but it got sent on to Bill Davies for a legal opinion. And I don't know if everybody got to read his remarks, but it all sounded good to me. I'm
Yeah.
ready to
Yeah.
make a motion that we accept it with his changes, and we don't really have to draw it out unless
Yeah.
somebody wants to read through it again, or.
Are his changes in the draft in our?
You're not asking me to interpret a legal opinion and develop a new policy, I hope.
He
No.
suggested specific changes,
Yeah.
and they seemed fine. I mean,
So-
they
Some
were
of them,
great.
some of them were like delete this word, but some of them
Yeah.
were a little more general than that, and would, I think would require somebody to interpret it and change
Ah.
some. It was my interpretation of a
Okay.
couple of them, but they were a little more, wasn't quite as simple as,
Well, yeah,
Delete
I don't
that.
I thought
know,
it was
maybe I
pretty-
simplified it in my mind.
I thought it was pretty specific.
Select board's prerogative.
You want me to rewrite it based on his
And bring it back to us?
opinions and bring it
Yes,
back?
that'd be
Okay,
beautiful.
I'll do that,
And then we'll have a clean copy.
yeah.
Yeah, that'll be good.
I'll do
Is it
that.
gonna have a title?
It's got
We're
a
gonna have to
title
adopt a title
already.
for it later.
Got a title already,
Oh,
so
good.
there.
There we go.
We don't need a
And we need a
special
place to
meeting
sign.
for it or anything.
We're gonna need a place to sign too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to reduce the print to get.
Get that font
yeah, I'm
size.
gonna make
Put
it like
onto one page.
8 point, yeah.
All right.
I have just a slight rearrangement thing that.
Can I
I'll
remind
do
everybody
if
who's
you want.
attended, if they could
Okay.
please sign in, if they haven't? Thank you.
Thanks, Audrey. So you'll rewrite that
Yeah, I'll do it for
and
the
bring it
next
back
meeting.
to us?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, so we're moving on. Next is select board to review requests from Kingdom Games for event rescheduled for August 16th at Caspian Lake, for which they've made a bunch of changes to comply with guidance from the governor's office. Right?
Yeah, they're doing a very limited event, basically opening this up to 10 individuals. you'll have to forgive me, one of the things I wasn't able to verify is if what they've traditionally done on this is they would reach out to both Hardwick and Greensboro. So, if we, obviously this has been proposed to us, but I'm assuming that Kingdom Games is also reaching out to Greensboro to ensure they're comfortable with it as
Separately.
well, right? So,
we could maybe just send a
Probably
note.
says a similar request is being made to Greensboro.
Ah, there we go.
sorry, I missed that. It's
Perfect.
Second last paragraph.
Great.
The event, as outlined here, is in line with current guidance, and they are indicating they're going to be they are going to be meeting what the current guidance would be for an event such as this. Town manager's office doesn't have any concerns.
Okay. Anybody want to make a motion to approve the Kingdom Games event?
I move that we approve the Kingdom Games event.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a really quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I don't know if they've done this, sounds like they've done this before at the beach. Is that correct?
Sorry, what?
It sounds like they've done this before.
Oh, yeah, they have.
I assume they're doing this, I'm just thinking about how popular the public beach is in August, and just thinking about the public beaches already, at times seems like it's maxed in capacity. So I don't know what time it's happening, but there are lots of, just a consideration for the town, like if they're,
Right.
what area they're roping off, and if we could maybe put signage up before the event to let families know ahead of time that a portion of it will be closed the next day or something like that might be helpful. I don't know if anybody would read those signs, but
If they're there, they have that opportunity.
It might be nice, if we were gonna do that, it might be nice to put that back on Kingdom Games and
Yeah.
say, we'd like to have you do this. We'd like to have you just put up a sign notifying folks a couple days prior.
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, I never participated. For some reason, I think they do it in the morning. I don't know what kind of day of the week the 16th is. Maybe,
August 16th?
yeah. It is a Saturday? Okay.
Actually, it says it has to be like Sunday, August 16th.
Oh, so it does. Reading will get you everywhere. Thank you, Alberta. Okay. So Sunday, so yeah, I mean, so we'd like to instruct the communication back to them to include a note that we'd like them to put up a sign beforehand alerting beach users that it's gonna happen. Is that good?
Yeah.
All right. Any other points on this? So, and that's okay with you, Sean, just to
Yep.
send a note with it?
Yep,
All right.
absolutely.
So, all in favor of approving the Kingdom Games event swim from the beach on August 16th, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Do you want me to sign one of these, or can you sign it, Sean? Next up is item 9, the select board to authorize town manager and business manager to apply for credit cards for the office. They're whining that they can't buy things that they need because they don't have a credit card. So they create.
No, we're having to use our personal credit
Oh,
cards.
right, so that's even worse.
Okay. No, it's just what we're finding on certain business things we need. As an example, like a software package is a good example. Some purchases, it would be beneficial to have the town business card that's held by the town manager and business manager. I'll give another example. We just set up a Zoom account. The only way we could do that is with a credit card. So if we could have the capability and the board would be approving, it would make for smoother operations. I'm not opposed to using my card if I have to and getting a reimbursement, but some of these things have automatic renewals and just, it shouldn't be for the individual to have to carry it if it's a
Right.
business function is how I would say it.
I'm surprised you don't have one.
Yeah, we've never.
And you can get it through with our account at Union Bank, no?
That's who we're actually gonna be doing it through.
Yeah.
That's a correct statement.
Makes sense.
So
I thought the policy looked sensible.
policy is what is recommended by, we just picked up on what the Vermont League of Cities and Towns said recommended, so that's what we would do there.
That's why we pay to join the Vermont League of Cities and Towns.
Yep. So what we'd like to get is motion for credit card, select board to approve of Casey, business manager, and Sean as town manager to apply for the credit card.
But first, let's get a motion to approve the policy.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I have
So
one
moved.
question,
Yeah.
just one question, Sean. I know this came up when we were doing this for our nonprofit. You still have to use your own personal credit to get that, or if we're using Union Bank, you don't have to?
Because we're a member, we're a customer with them already, and it's a government official situation. As Casey described it to me, they were not obligated, they did not have to pull my credit report.
Okay,
I
great.
didn't have a problem with that if they needed to, but they didn't have to do that.
Yeah, they shouldn't have to.
So it's actually, Union Bank works with a third party, which we'll hit that as the next item, I can describe that.
So make the motion that we approve the credit card policy for Town of Hardwick as written.
And we got a second. Any more discussion on the policy? All in favor of approving the Town of Hardwick credit card policy as written, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And so the second part of that Sean already mentioned is to add, so this, where is it? It's in the policy. The select board will determine which officers and employees of the town will be authorized to use the town credit card, and the town manager will assign appropriate limits for each purchase and total credit limit. Cards will be issued with the names of the officers and employees. So Sean's asking for the select board to approve.
Business manager and town manager.
Okay,
So moved.
I'm the authorized officer, to be clear,
right,
for the town.
right.
I'll second it.
Motion.
And there's a
Yeah.
second. Any discussion? All in favor of approving credit card holders, Sean, for the town manager and the business manager, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
We got it covered as far as me applying for it. This pretty much covers it, right, Eric?
Yep.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you all. It helps us.
Yeah, thanks for coming. It's been a long-standing issue, and I remember it coming up over the years. And especially as more and more stuff is purchased online, it's just harder to use the invoicing system or whatever. All right, next up is discussion about a new date for the 2020 fireworks show that was canceled. So I believe what Sean had told me was that we have paid money to the fireworks company for Memorial Day, right? And then they contacted the town manager's office recently and said, do you guys want to reschedule? Because they're now rescheduling them. And there's a Labor Day weekend option, I think.
Sorry, I'm texting Casey because I asked her to just check on another option for us. Yeah, you phrased it right.
Okay.
We had
So-
in advance, or just about the start of the state of emergency, we'd already locked in for our Memorial Day show. We couldn't offer it, so we have a credit with North Star Fireworks. What I was texting Casey about is, we had thought about Labor Day, but I guess we're not quite sure, is that gonna be the right time, for us to do something? So we don't know. There's another logistics issue there we talked to Tom about, because the fire department assists with setup and just is there in case there's an issue with the people doing the show. It's shot from the Hazen Fields, and we're back in session. I don't know where we're gonna be at in regards to sports, and are they gonna be using the fields this fall? I don't know if I should put it any other way, but that's something that we just got talking about this afternoon. So there's another factor here, and that is we gotta make sure Hazen's in the loop.
Yeah.
All right?
Right.
This didn't come up till late this afternoon.
Do we lose it if we don't use it? I mean, is there anybody out there really clamoring for fireworks that we didn't get in May? I mean, I know it's a big topic. There are some people that just love it,
No, I understand.
but, I mean, Couldn't we just fold it into next year and have
That's
it
what
be
I'm
that
checking.
much better?
That was the next question, is can we go to the Memorial Day
I
2021?
mean, and then we don't have to fundraise for it next year because we always want a bigger one than we actually budget for, so then people can get a break and not have to donate to it in a year that is relatively unknown, just like this one. Next year, who knows what's going to be economically happening.
Right,
Could we take this up at the next meeting?
or, yeah,
I believe so.
Because it's still prior to.
I mean, our credit's in effect through this year, so I think, we're trying to do, I think what that business is trying to do is just get things cleared, if you will, right? And I understand that, but
Well, or they're trying to make some money this year.
we've already
Well, we
paid
already
them. We've already
Yeah.
paid.
I
We've
got the
already
money.
paid for the show. So, not that I expect this, but just bear in mind, if something happens with their business, we run the risk of losing it, and if that's the case, so be it. I don't anticipate that, but that's one of the things that we could be into. It's probably a low probability, but it's something that,
They might be having a hard time with that kind of business this year.
say it again?
I said that kind of business might not be prospering particularly this year.
Well, I think on private sales, yes, municipal things have adjusted, so, I'm getting ahead of myself. We don't need to make a decision tonight to
Or we
Liz's
have to
point.
think
We can-
about a different
We do need to investigate further as far as, okay, if it was Labor Day, how's that work with the school, right, Tom? And figure out, is there another time? Because I mentioned to Tom, well, what about when we do fall foliage? I mean, there's a few events around the town, but that's going to be different this year. So what I'm
Yeah.
referencing is like the chicken barbecue. Do we know how that's all going to go this year? We're still, things are not back to normal.
Or
is my
is there a
point.
different field aside from
Well,
the school field?
Everybody knows what's happening nationally, and we're not immune from this. So, I mean, now we're okay, but things could change.
I mean, if school's in and we can't do it at Hazen,
Right.
is there just a different location that they?
Yeah, I
Could we
suppose.
go to Hardwick Lake?
Say again?
Hardwick Lake. I don't know, I mean, there's town land that, I don't know.
So
hard to,
Oh, we can talk about it.
yeah, we can talk about it.
we can hit a few of these questions and carry
Bring it
on
back.
at the next. Is that
All
okay?
right, yeah, that sounds great.
Good. I don't know if Casey was able to get to the company late this afternoon, so I have texted her, but I failed to check back in with her when she headed off this afternoon.
Should we double check with them that we
She
can
was gonna
check?
call the company direct and just ask, would you roll it over into 2021? So that's the first thing we'll do. If we can do a rollover, my 2 cents is maybe we roll it over, is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
But we would follow up at the August 6th meeting, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or if, or if this generates any input, if we hear from anybody that they really want a fireworks display on Labor Day and we can make it happen, then that probably would work too.
The school
Yeah.
might be really into it too.
Yeah, they could be. So maybe contact the school too, regardless of, whether we can roll it or not.
I said, well, maybe it's the homecoming, but that's gonna look different this year.
Right.
But maybe they say it's a virtual homecoming with real fireworks.
It'd be
Yeah,
like a drive-in
So, I mean,
movie,
we gotta be innovative these
Oh,
days,
what?
right?
like graduation, everyone was in a car at graduation.
oh, yeah.
So we'll check, we'll get more info from, it's North Star Fireworks, we'll get more information from them as the next step.
Thank you. All right, so I'm gonna move on, select board reports. Sherry.
So the Chamber Players has a plan to have a little mini concert a week from tonight, Thursday night, the 23rd, and then Friday's a rain date. So on the lawn at the townhouse, they're gonna be in front. They've created they have some sort of a shell on a flatbed, and they'll be in charge of making sure that people do social distancing in the audience.
Yeah.
And the townhouse will be open only as a, facility to use one of the bathrooms. And I'll have all the signage up that the state, state parks and the historic sites use for safety and all that stuff. And we'll see, maybe it'll be kind of nice. It's only gonna be about an hour long, and it'll be at 7 next week,
Great.
7 what day next week?
Thursday.
Thursday.
Sherry, the
Their
water,
usual performance night, but yeah.
the water's still off, so I gotta communicate with, obviously Tom can get the water on, but I gotta communicate with the plumber about what does that mean, because we didn't turn back on in the spring, given the state of emergency. It's been off, so that's something I'll check into.
I thought the building opened up on March 1st, just like it always does. I
We
mean,
did not
I'm pretty
have-
sure that,
Beginning this spring.
yeah,
We are checked out.
Wayne was there, yeah.
We are?
Yep.
I retract my comment.
Totally fine, yeah, bathrooms work.
Can we back that up? Leaf, can you take that last minute out?
And I have one more thing, and I
Well,
wanted
that was
to,
easy. I took care of that.
Yeah.
I wanted to request that the select board ask Sean to write a letter of support for the cultural facilities grant that we're applying for at the townhouse for the, what do you call it?
Fire
The
escape.
fire escape and the accessibility to the stage, and I brought these little drawings as if anyone wants to see what
Oh,
the plan is. It's gonna be, it's coming in at a pretty hefty price tag, so the cultural facilities grant will be only part of the funding, but we'll get started.
Okay.
So it's an enclosed fire escape on the not on the Depot Street side, on the other side of the building, and then it takes off the old rotting fire escapes and repairs the building, and also creates a lift and accessibility to the stage area
Wow.
inside of this
Fancy.
addition.
Nice.
So, yeah, it would be nice to have a letter of support for the grant process that is due on the 27th of this month.
So, on behalf of the town,
Yeah,
so.
it's a town building, but, you know, it's always good.
Right,
Yeah.
so, I think just for, could someone make a motion to request Sean draft or submit a letter of support for a community facilities grant for the town now?
So moved.
Second that?
Any more discussion about that? Is that good with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
We've been communicating right along.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye. Any opposed?
I'll abstain.
You're one abstention. All right,
Sherry's upset.
thanks for bringing that to us.
Sure, pretty
Any-
exciting. Let's see if we can get it.
Any other select board reports? Any new business?
I just have two quick things. I wanted to give a shout out to the Hardwick area neighbor to neighbor group. They've just made over 2,000 masks for our community, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And they're all still available at the diner. The information's on the Hardwick website, but it's just pretty incredible how many masks that
The whistle
Yeah.
also has them,
the whistle has them.
And I think they use them at the health center as well,
Yeah.
if people don't come. Yep.
and
So-
maybe the library too.
That's almost our town population. It's
Very
pretty
close,
amazing.
Yeah,
And I just did find out today that the Judavine received another grant from Vermont Arts Council, which is
From-
also
yeah, it
really
was-
amazing. So just think there's some great energy in the community right now.
a grant for the building expansion or something else?
I believe it was for the
They
building.
got, it's for the expansion, I think it's cultural facilities from
Oh.
last year.
Yeah.
But they're just, yeah. I
I
don't know
didn't see that. I
exactly,
didn't
but
see any
somehow-
information on it yet. You might have gone to
I
Joey.
think because of all of the delays that they're just now
Announcing?
announcing.
Oh, so it's maybe one we've
This is the
heard
one
about.
that was applied for last year
Community
that'll
facilities.
end up
Yep.
being
Okay,
part of the accessibility stuff.
okay,
I think, I may be wrong about that.
all right. At some point Jody will come with an update.
It's all good.
Yeah. That was two, right?
That was it.
Okay. Any other new business or old business? All right, hearing none, could we have a motion to go into an executive session to deliberate about appointments for Hardwick Electric commissioner appointments?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That was everybody, so motion carries. Thank you, everyone.